because I used to move money, we had weapons in the house, we had lots of gear. This is real raw and honest, right? He was going to kill me. I feared for my life really badly. I had to run.
Really?
The cracks started to really appear then. Who am I? I don't know who I am.
We've got to stop kind of pigeonholing sobriety, recovery, mental health, anything really.
I just got so sick and tired of myself. And I'm like, this is not going to be my story anymore. You're the author of your book. Like, time to turn a new chapter and rewrite that shit.
Welcome to Class A People.
Thank you.
I'm so excited to have you here. Okay, so how I tend to start is childhood, which, you know, I know for a lot of people, some of us don't think that slightly different case because you've been 10 years in recovery, okay? So you obviously, I'm going to learn lots and so is everyone else. But I do find that with the guests I've had, they do eventually, when you do that timeline thing, which you've probably done before, because I know you do podcasting yourself, you listen back to it and you think, oh, that does make sense.
Yeah.
So
all roads lead back to childhood trauma.
They literally do.
And trauma isn't necessarily what we think it is.
Yes.
You know, I'm a qualified trauma therapist.
Can't wait.
Yeah. So like, that's my
Buckle
thing.
in.
That's my thing.
Yeah.
And it was my own journey that led me to then explore that and train in trauma, because for me, and if you listen to the likes of Gabor Mate, if you read the book The Body Keeps a Score,
great book,
you know, then you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And if you don't, go and have a little
Those
look.
are two really good recommendations.
Really good recommendations to help understand yourself.
Yeah, I'd actually say Gabor Mate first, because The Body Keeps the Score is quite intense read.
Yeah, because it's quite hard to get into.
Yeah,
especially
I
if
actually
you have...
listened to the audiobook because well, we're two little neurodivergent beings here today, and I always think that audiobooks sometimes is easier, unless they have an accent that you don't connect with.
No, I can't do that.
That's it for me.
Yeah, it's off after a few minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But childhood trauma plays in your childhood experiences, like even from when you're back in the womb, and your mother's nervous system.
Yeah.
It all...
I heard that on Gabor Mate. Yeah.
Yeah. So if your parent, your mother, has been in a stressful situation, or she's internally stressful and her nervous system is dysregulated, that is going to naturally pass on genetically to the baby.
I think what's a good understanding for people, which was my big eye-opening sort of moment when I first came into recovery, was learning that trauma is not necessarily a massive thing that either hasn't happened to you, therefore you compare it to friends of yours who have had the death of a parent, you know, I don't know, a car crash, whatever, and understanding that when I was going through, for example, bullying at school, okay, I just brushed that under the carpet from the age of however, because I'm like, yeah, but everyone has that. That little girl, at that time in her life, that was the worst thing that was going on for her. So you have to go and sympathise with it and acknowledge it, that needs healing.
Absolutely. Inner child work is fantastic, and parts work. Yeah. So all the parts of you. So when I'm working with my clients, I say use like the Russian doll theory. So the big doll is you now.
That's clever.
And it's a really good visual to do with people as well, because I'm quite a visual person.
Me too.
And the visual representation of that makes it makes
easier.
sense a little bit more. So the big doll is you now, and that's how you're masking, you're presenting, and your beliefs and who
you're acting like an adult.
Who you are now, and then you take off that layer, and you've got then another version of yourself, and then keep doing that until you get to the little one, and that's your inner child, and that's a little you that at some point in your life would have had a belief that you're not good enough, or
you don't fit in.
Yeah, for me personally, it was, there's something wrong with me, the world isn't safe for me to be in, because however I am, I'm getting all this negative feedback from all different directions that I'm too loud, I'm an inconvenience, I'm too much, I talk too much, I'm into people's faces too much. And then it would be like friendship groups and things like that. In all of those things. So when you're 0 to 7 is when your brain is shaping your belief systems, your core belief systems. So how you feel about yourself, how you feel about the world around you, relationships, and how you then respond and interact with the world.
That's so fascinating. I from 0 to 7, obviously, when you try to think back to that though, what was your kind of environment like?
So on the outside, you would see like 2 loving parents. Like my dad at the time was head of maths for a private school. We had a nice big house, and I didn't really want for anything. I was the middle child, the middle girl. Okay, we're done now.
Yeah,
right?
that's
Explains it all.
Yeah.
and so I had an older brother and a younger brother. And I
you're
was
the only
middle.
girl.
I was the only girl, and
Okay.
all the people in my street were all boys. So I hung around with all boys.
Tomboy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like well, I was clotheslining people instead of like playing with dolls. And riding my bike and building fires.
Yeah,
you know,
okay. Then you got to school and met girls, and it was like, right.
I just don't get girls.
I don't love them either.
Sometimes.
Sorry.
even though I'm bisexual, so
Yeah,
I like men. I swing
No, but that's
both ways.
different. That's
it's very
different.
different. I like girls in that way.
Yeah, no, that's different.
But I've always got on better with
guys.
boys.
Yeah, I
and
do
men.
think that's a common neurodivergent
Yeah.
female trait though as well, because
they're
we
very
just
straight.
and it's like
it's
if
what
you've
it
got a
is.
problem with me, and then we sort it out. Whereas especially at school, you know, girls at school who are
hated it.
horrific, it was so cliquey, bitchy. Yeah, I was never a part of one because I didn't ever get into one because
I wasn't either. I wasn't either.
Right. And actually, it's funny when you do the growth now. I look at that and I think I would never want to be because quantity, not
it's like mean girl energy.
Quality, not quantity when it comes to
Like,
friends.
you can't sit with us. I don't fucking want to.
Yeah, and I'm not wearing pink, so fuck off.
Yeah, I'm all pink today.
Yeah, you are girly.
Yeah.
Okay, so dad was a maths teacher.
Yeah. And my
for a
mum,
private school.
I always wanted to be with my mum.
Yeah.
So she couldn't really do enough for me in that respect. But what I did, in hindsight, looking back, what I did notice was all emotions were swept under the carpet. And I obviously picked that up. It's like we don't really talk about things. It was very much sit still, stop, what are people going to think? That sort of thing. So I was always a rule breaker, right from the very get-go. My dad said, you came out, age born, independent.
Yeah. So what was your mum like then?
So quite anxious.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So
quite
that makes sense then.
Anxious, yeah. And my dad, he was involved, but then he started working away quite a lot. And I absconded from school loads. So the first time I ran away from school was in year 4. So that was 8, 9 years old.
Yeah.
And I had my teacher. This is where some of the autistic traits will be able to be
Just so everyone knows,
obvious.
then you are
ADHD?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 2.5 years ago, I was actually diagnosed
Just
with...
for people that don't know, that's autism and ADHD combined.
Yeah, combined. And
She's extra, she had to.
Dyslexic and dyspraxic, which dyspraxia is the clumsy
I've been asked if I have that one.
And often under the neurodivergent umbrella, we have all these different traits. So ADHD can be the dominating one, and then you do actually have these other things. So dyscalculia is with numbers, but that also associates to time. So that the dyscalculia isn't just about being good or bad at maths. It's actually about your concept of time and things like that.
I listened to a psychologist who is a specialist in ADHD, and he said we literally don't have a concept of time. Yeah. We don't. Like, I can't believe that. I mean, you were here on time today.
Yes, because then I have things in place now.
Yeah.
And I also have my partner who is very time particular.
Okay,
so he
perfect.
will. Yeah. He will make sure
Yeah.
that I do things and I don't get burnt out and things like that. He is my stability.
Emergency contact.
He's my stability. But yeah, we'll get to all that.
We'll get to that.
Yeah, but I didn't see the authority
Hierarchy.
and the adults, from me being from a child.
Yeah.
I didn't see the danger or anything like that. I just thought we're all the same people.
We are equal.
Yes. So, yeah.
Don't tell me what to do.
I'm going to do what I want to do.
Yeah, I'm going to guess that carried on to teenage years.
Yes. Yeah, my parents, it was difficult at home. My little brother nearly died of meningitis septicemia. And I remember coming home, I'd already started drinking at this stage.
How old is that?
I'm about 13.
Yeah, that was the same.
So I already started dabbling. And I came home and no one was at home. And I was like, well, what's going on? And then we had house phones then. So
yes,
I'm 43 this year. So
yeah,
it's
no, I remember the house phone.
Yeah.
I remember the house phone.
I was a kid
Your dad
in the
always,
80s and 90s.
Yeah, your dad never did the whole number. It was like 859 Joe speaking.
And then I rang my friend and I was like,
where are they?
And no one's here. Then the landline rang and they said they're at the hospital. So and my parents they divorced. They were in separate bedrooms. Around that same time. It's a bit hazy to be honest, but around that same time. And I just remember not wanting to be at home. And I'd already had obsessive behaviours. So my room was meticulously tidy as a child. I had everything lined up in a row. All my clothes were in sort order. I had this little sink in my room and this shelf where I had all my little ornaments on. And if anyone had been in my room, I'd know because of the energy. Someone's been in my room.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was very, very, very aware of everything.
What people would have called that is sensitive. You're too sensitive.
Oh God, yeah.
Because they wouldn't understand if you'd said it's the energy. Would they?
And I always had this sense of stuff, and I could always feel other people's emotions, and always feel when, and I write spoken word as well, like so. And it's like, why do adults always lie?
Yeah.
And it was with a straight face. So I picked up on that, and I was very uneasy in myself from a young age. And my first sort of binging, I remember, was I had this thing of loads of these chocolates at Christmas, and I ate the lot and was sick. So there's these behaviours
starting to creep in
that before I even picked up a drink or a drug that were there, obsessive behaviours.
Why do you think you decide? Why was it that? Was it to change the way you felt? Was it?
What,
did
all
it
the chocolate?
Yeah,
I just didn't have an off button.
Yeah.
It was like I didn't know. I
sometimes
couldn't just have one thing or a little bit. I'd have it
But
all.
were you like deprived of it and then you got it?
I don't know.
No. It's not. It's just opening that packet and like.
Things. Yeah, I just couldn't stop.
Yeah.
Once you pop, you can't stop.
Yeah. So
And
I'm
that
laughing at
carried on.
packet.
Yeah. And then I got on the packet.
Yeah. Every time I do this podcast and someone will be really serious and they'll go, there's a really fine line between.
Yeah.
You've
got to laugh, right? Okay, in early
laugh.
recovery, it's very serious business, right? I'm lucky to be here, to be honest, through various different events that happened in my life. But it was, I started drinking and using it 13.
What was on the menu?
So drink. I was so fucking socially awkward, right? And I was literally rigid. So if we'd be sitting in a room with friends, I'd be like that. And everyone was sitting there and if anyone would talk to me, I'd like go red. So I discovered alcohol and it was like whoosh through my body, and I was like, I felt invincible. And of course I'm going to keep doing it because it allowed me to relax and it allowed me to actually speak. But I went a bit the other way and completely unmasked and just went a bit Lulu whenever I had too much alcohol. I was really silly. I was one of those really silly people on alcohol, and would do risky things. I would get up on tables or take my clothes off and things like that. All those shameful things. And shame entered my life, at a very early age because of the shame I felt of just being me. But they channeled my energy then into horse riding.
Okay.
From when I was 8.
Yeah.
And that was then my escapism. That was my freedom. And from 10 years old, I used to get on my bike at 6 a.m. every Saturday, every Sunday, and bike 5 miles there to the stables, spend all day there and bike home from the age of 10 till 15.
But did you like it? You loved it.
I loved it.
So you kind of had a way to channel it, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the school was my nemesis.
Yeah.
Hated it. I was always playing truant. Yeah. I had these little rosy cheeks and this awful haircut. And I'm really small now, but like I was really small, and I did get bullied at school, but I beat the shit out of her in the end, because like I say this, and I don't condone violence, but there's been a lot of it in my life. There's been so much of it, like that I've got to the point of the red mist, and then it's the uncontrollable rage, which again, it caused me a lot of shame. But then a lot of violence inflicted on me. Yeah. But she kept on and on and on goading me, and in the end, I just waited for her on my own after school and just beat the shit out of her and said,
Did it ever happen again?
No.
There you go.
No. No, she didn't come back to school.
God.
I then got in trouble again with that. I was in bloody trouble.
So school was disruptive, and you had horse riding, and that was kind of how you channeled sort of your energy, and that was your hobby.
And I was really good at it. Yeah, but it was, so my horse riding teacher was a hard South London lady.
See, I think that's quite interesting with things like that, because we don't like being told what to do, but then if you meet someone who you respect, and it's that fine line of like them being, you're a little bit scared of them, but you really like them and you want to impress them. I think that's very good for us with authority, our type of people. I had a boss who was
almost like a mum. Yeah. And I slept over there all the time. Yeah. My mum was so thankful to her because she was really the only person I'd listen to. So I spent a lot of time with her, but I also learned to suppress my feelings and become a little bit hard with it. So in the flip side of that, because I was one of those very sensitive. I was about to call her crybaby, and I just realised that that's really not a very nice thing to say about myself.
Sensitive child.
Yeah, sensitive child. And she would be like, in the early days when I went there, she was like, "Are you sulking again?" So I weren't allowed to throw a tantrum and sulk. I had to get up and get on with it, and it taught me discipline. It taught me discipline. It taught me respect. It taught me work ethic, and it also taught me a lot of resilience. But some people say that I'm cold and hard.
I get that.
But I'm not. I'm a very, very sensitive, empathetic and loving person. But cross me, and that's when I suppose that maybe would come out.
Yeah. My mum used to say to me, I just find it bizarre. When I was younger, like I was able to could be very cutthroat with a friendship. You know, if it went past a level of like, I just can't forgive that. I'm not all right with that. I will happily never speak to someone ever again, and I won't think about it. Yeah. I still have that to this day. Like it doesn't bother me to, you know, and it takes a lot to get there, by the way. But when it's something that I just can't see myself ever doing to you, I'm all right with it.
That's like justice sensitivity, though, isn't it? Neurodivergence.
Yeah.
Which all of this stuff was, you know,
building up to.
I've been studying and obviously I've done courses in it now, just so I can support my neurodivergent clients as well and understand it more for myself. But there's so many things that I can see now.
Oh yeah, hindsight
yeah, is
wonderful
a wonderful thing.
Wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so 13, we're starting on the substances. We've done a bit of binge eating. We're drinking.
Yeah.
We're loving drinking because it's enabling us to socialise, which you know that's what we're brought up to believe anyway.
Yeah.
It's at everything that we do.
Start weed then.
Weed. Okay, so that was sort of the
weed.
Yeah.
At lunchtime, break time.
Yeah. Fags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Hand in hand.
Yeah. Yeah.
And teenage years were
turbulent. Yeah. Lots of risque behaviour. Class A drugs came in. I smoked crack from 14.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So how did we get to that?
Was robbing.
How do we get to that?
How did I get to that? So I hung around with older people.
Yeah.
So there was a group of us girls, so it's like 2 or 3 of us, interchangeable, sort of about 4 of us, but sort of in that group, some of there's 2 of us, some of us 3, we'd hang out with these older guys. So my boyfriend when I was 14 was 19.
No judgment. I did the same.
Pick me up from school, you know?
In a car.
Yeah.
You're 14.
Yes.
But you think it's so cool.
And we were having
you
sex.
think it's so cool.
Like, yeah. Underage sex, there's all the drinking. And I can't remember. I think I tried ease first, you know.
Okay, yeah.
I think it was ease and smoked the white and speed. That's what it was. It was all those.
Did you know it was crack?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
Yeah. I was just thinking 14. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's young though, isn't it?
Yeah. When I look back at
It is young because you've got your own children. You know, there's young.
I've got 4 kids.
Yeah.
Now. Yeah. Like it is.
I'm just
young.
wondering, like, how you're around crack at such a young age. But if you're around 19-year-olds,
my boyfriends, one of them, I had many.
Of course.
Yes. One of them was a bit of a tearaway, sort of wanted by the police.
Yes, I can't imagine you were going out with the maths bod.
Oh, it could be highly boring.
Yeah,
sorry,
exactly. No offense.
Yeah.
Yeah, you needed to tell something that was going to be rebellious.
Yeah.
Stimulating.
So yeah, he smoked brown and heroin. That is for anyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
Brown and white often go hand in hand.
Some would say.
I smoked the brown and got violently sick.
Were you scared when you first did it, or were you just?
I never touched it again.
Yeah.
It's weird because
Yeah,
I
it's
never touched that again. But all the times I've overdosed and been very, very sick on all the other drugs and almost died.
You've gone straight back to the.
Yeah, just like come out of hospital, get a line.
Yeah.
Ring
So what situation were you in when you first tried that then?
Just at like a random house.
Yeah.
Yeah, like people were older again, and they were like criminals, like petty criminals and shoplifters, and they were smoking brown and white. So I tried both, and it wasn't like I wasn't instantly an addict.
No.
I would be binging. So I would be at the weekends with my friends. We would take E. Sometimes we'd like be in a field. Sometimes we'd go to do illegal raves.
Yeah.
Partying for me, I loved music. I loved singing. I loved dancing. Still do. But just now minus the drugs. And for me, it was I didn't see it as a problem. It was like we were all doing it.
Yeah.
I didn't feel I had a problem.
Yeah.
And especially like the music, or we'd all be around someone's house and we'd have the music on and it'd all be like, woo, you know, very hedonistic.
Yeah.
I loved the escapism. I absolutely loved it.
Did you think drugs were wrong?
No,
and it's interesting, is it? Because
we're all doing it.
Yeah, because everyone's doing it.
I didn't see past that what we were doing. I didn't see the dangers, and I wanted to try them all. And I tried LSD when I was like 16, and had a real mad trip on that.
Yeah.
We would take E's pretty much most weekends, 2 or 3 a time, and then cocaine got introduced when I was about 15, I think.
That's the expensive one, isn't it? So you tend to be.
And it wasn't really about that then.
No.
It wasn't really around much.
No.
Amongst it was more. It was the ecstasy days and the speed days, the base days.
Yeah. Illegal raves massive back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like my
life.
Yeah.
And school was just hardly ever in the picture.
Yeah, and I left school at 15, and I left home sort of 3 months before my 16th birthday, and I went to work with horses down in Surrey. So I did a geographical.
Lovely.
At a young age.
Yeah, that is young.
15. Yeah, I went, fuck this shit. I don't want to be here anymore. And I did say I want a fresh start. I want to go out and work with horses, because at 15 I did get pregnant.
Yeah.
And I had an abortion quite late on. Which haunted me, and I started self-harming then. So I started cutting, and I did try to take an overdose. Well, I didn't try, I did. I take an overdose. I think I was around 16. Yeah.
Why did you decide that you didn't want to keep it?
Because I was 15 years old, and I'd be 16 with a baby.
Did you tell anyone about it? Yeah.
Well, eventually, I told my mum, and then I had to go for that grueling process of being... I'm not going to say how many weeks, but I don't feel that's necessary, and I don't want the hate.
Understand.
To be honest, it's my body, my story, my choices.
Absolutely.
So I'm okay with it now. But for many years that haunted the shit out of me, and I never dealt with it.
No.
I went back to my mum's house after it to recover, sort of thing. I was living with her at the time and thing, and next day through the door was this leaflet, anti-abortion leaflet, and you know, all this stuff, and I just sent me into oblivion, and I just went and cut myself, and I hated myself. I felt like such a horrible person, and the guilt of that, and the guilt and the shame of that were really difficult to deal with, and I didn't know how to deal with big emotions. I had all this stuff, and I couldn't describe. Like, I tried, if I went to counselling with her, I was like, I don't fucking know. I didn't know how to talk about it. This is why body practices have been my saviour. You know, later down the line.
How was your mum sort of? So you left home at 15, and then that was happening at 16.
Yeah, so I'd gone and then I'd come back.
Yeah,
and stuff,
for that. Did they have any understanding of what's going on in your life, or are you very good at sort of coming in the house and being like, hi, and then when you're out of home, it's...
Yeah, they did, because they had to pick me up a few times, obliterated, and from hospital or whatever. So, or they'd have to get calls in the night to come and get me and things. So they were very aware of.
What about your relationship with your brothers? Were they?
I didn't really have one, to be honest. Not really like a sibling relationship.
Interesting.
No, yeah. I still don't.
No.
To be honest, no.
Did you have that fantasy kind of that you had to let go of? You know, of when we grow up, we kind of think that these people in our lives, like our family, you know, you grow up thinking that they should be that certain way. You should have that certain relationship, because society's kind of told you, like, you know, the alpha male dad and the protective dad. And
I didn't really think about it much at the time.
No, I mean,
but when I got my ADHD diagnosis, I was like, oh, okay, because I'd been previously diagnosed. I called myself the label collector, and so it's like, you know, a whole array of mental disorders that I really don't agree with. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. I really dislike the disorder part of it.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
not great.
No, it's very limited thinking. Anyway, and I then had to go on another round of healing because I had all this anger and rage towards the system, towards my parents, towards the people around me. Like, why didn't somebody help me? Why at 15 years old I've had an abortion and I'm self-harming and I'm in hospital because I had an overdose, and nobody gives a fuck. No support system. Just get up and crack on. And that's always been me. Something happens, get up, carry on with it. Push that to one side, shove that in there somewhere, let's crack on. But so that I had a lot of anger to deal with.
Sort of like,
and like, why didn't I was a little girl. I was a little girl. I wasn't, you know, even if I was a grown woman,
it's a lot to have gone through already.
Like, what the hell? So I did have a lot of resentments and anger towards a lot of my earlier life.
Was ADHD being spoken, or any of these things being spoken about at that time?
No, but my mum was in the school every other week trying to get me some support, and I was
so it wasn't
naughty.
through lack
I was
of
labelled
trying.
naughty.
Same.
Anxious and naughty.
Okay, so we're at 16 and we've already we've already hit some pretty big milestones here, you know, like trauma-wise. Was there anything that sort of was going on with that boyfriend who got you pregnant? Was that traumatic relationship?
No.
Okay.
That wasn't. We just used to drink and do drugs together, and
I had unprotected sex and the obvious happened.
Yeah.
That stuff you get told about, it does happen. But we're taking drugs, like pretty heavy drugs. You've left school at 15 and you're now working at these stables. You've left home. You've had an abortion. You're very aware of the fact that you're not aware, but now are aware of these obsessive behaviours because if you've got the eating, there was self-harming. Were you, when you look back on that, were you unhappy?
That's a really hard question, you know. That
Sorry.
is quite a hard question, because I describe it as an inner turmoil. Yeah. It was just manic.
I would always say, like, with us, we're very resilient, but you don't really realise it at the time.
Yeah.
This whole, like, brush yourself down and get back on thing.
Yeah. I don't think I would have even known what I was.
No.
I was just doing what I was doing, and didn't really understand why or what have you. And
This is so true, though, right? With the with this, like, the neurodivergent brain, like, it's only until you start it's only until you start the healing journey that you can. You know, I couldn't remember any of my childhood, none of it.
Yeah.
And then I was thinking, am I adopted? Like, I couldn't get it. I could none. I had no memories of any of it. And I think it's that you're protecting yourself. You don't realise you are, but you're compartmentalising.
Your brain is doing it, for you. Your brain and your body. So dissociative amnesia is called professionally.
Yeah.
The technical term. But yeah,
we want to know all the technical terms.
Yeah,
we want to learn.
Your brain and your body are not remembering that. So your hippocampus in your brain is like refer to it as like the filing cabinet of your brain. So all this stuff needs to be filed away in the correct filing cabinet for you to then move on from it, from trauma and these things. But if it doesn't get resolved and you have unresolved trauma, it will float around and it will be held somewhere in your brain and in your nervous system, of your responses, and in your body.
It's fascinating.
Absolutely fascinating.
Because it manifests in other ways, like, and also illness,
Yeah.
Okay.
That
I'm really just so excited to learn about all that stuff, but I do feel like we just need a bit of background with your story and how you got there. How you got
19, I got pregnant.
Okay.
I was in a relationship again with an older man. I'd left the stables. I'd come back home to where my hometown and met my older girl's dad. I was 17, he was 25, and we started a relationship. He was in the pub. I got a job in the pub. He was bar manager.
At this point, are you addicted to anything?
No,
drug-wise?
I wouldn't say I was.
No,
No,
you were just.
No,
it was just
using.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Using. I hadn't really done a lot of using then, like, because I'd had a break from it and I'd more drinking. So at where I'd been away and I'd done living jobs.
Yeah.
It was more sort of binge drinking. Just didn't really know an off button. Again, didn't see a problem with it, but would be a problem after a few drinks. Yeah. Either emotionally or I'd do something to piss someone off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then so I came back. He was a bar manager. Landlord was there. I got a job as underage bar manager, of course. 17. It weren't long before I think it was April, and then my birthday's July, so I turned 18. And anyway, I had this job in the pub. Met him. We then started a relationship, but he finished his wedding to then be with me.
Right.
And we take over the pub.
Right.
Landlord goes
Landlady at 17.
18. With my name above the door, then we got a second pub.
Oh my God.
So at 18, I'm in this relationship with this guy.
Yeah.
We've now got 2 pubs. We are dealing as well.
Yeah.
And we have our sessions. We're not like
lock-ins.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're not.
But this is going to be feeding that ego so fast, so quickly, because you have been this child that, you know, hasn't felt seen, is masking, is rebellious, always getting told this stuff, and by 18, you're a businesswoman. Yeah. Like, in your brain, you're a businesswoman.
I went and got my licenses, national licensee certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my landlady's registration at 18, the youngest landlady.
You're feeling very adult. You know, at 18, you're feeling very adult.
Yeah, but I wasn't.
I know, but you are going to be. But also, you're proving it all wrong. You know, look at me. I'm running 2 pubs. Yeah. Hello. You know, I've got this relationship. Yeah, I'm dealing and doing drugs on the side. But I'm. Yeah. Look at me. And then there's that comparison of like, look at that friend who I went to school with, who was the clever one. You know, look at her. She's not doing what I'm doing. Yeah. And I'm just saying this, like, tricking of the brain of what we did back then to like convince ourselves that. Number one, we were happy.
Like, then I had to prove myself.
Yeah,
I felt like then, because it was this constant, and that's only something I've really more recently let go of is that constant need to prove myself.
Yes.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
I will say that. It's exhausting. And so we had these pubs. Then we purposely tried for a baby. And I got pregnant at 19. I had her just after my 20th birthday. Yeah. And then we moved. I said I don't want to have her in a pub. Don't want to have her here. I want a proper family life.
Yeah.
So we move out.
But at this point, you're into drug dealing. So how? Can just
I just think it's so normal.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, when it's all you know.
Yeah.
Remember, this is my normal. Drugs, violence, and seeing violence, being hit. It is normal to me.
It's very quickly normalised, all of this stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very...
So when people hear my story, they're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, yeah. Just, add that in there.
Yeah. You're like, I just want to go and have a proper family now. It's like, yeah, but on that though, obviously, it is quite hard to get out of drug dealing once you get into it.
Yeah.
When you get, I know you got to a certain level, shall we say, which was...
That was
further down the line?
That's further down the line, that is, yeah.
Okay. Talk me through it then.
Yeah, so
you, but when you're in the pub, it's obviously like...
It's a bit of this, bit of that.
Yeah, under the bar,
massive.
serving to...
Yeah, pills, mostly.
Right.
Yeah. What a funny story about that.
Go, we love funny stories.
So we
Yay! Okay.
So we, this guy, I'm not going to name names, but this guy, and then
Not the guy you're with.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
And his brother-in-law.
Yeah.
We go, right, we need to go and pick up these 1,000 pills from Brighton. So we go down in the car, we get like a hotel, we go into the pub, start on the drinking and gear.
Obviously.
And like while we're waiting around and stuff like that.
Nothing else.
Might as well.
Yeah.
And then we get the call. So we get in the car and we're like, got to go to this real weird back end place in Brighton. We're like, are we actually going to come out of here alive? Just like this gypsy place in Brighton. We're like, just to pick up this massive bag of pills. Red Ferraris they were. And anyway,
what were those, like the blue destroyer or whatever they were called? Oh God.
So we go
naughty actually that though, that they kiddie-eyes them, whatever that word, they make them like
make them fun.
Yeah, like the different names that they had.
Yeah.
And like being in the shape of the Superman logo and things like that.
Yeah.
Not that we've ever tried this. No.
But anyway, so we're down there and we're like, it is like if you've watched Only Fools and Horses, okay? So it is like the three of us, like, what do we do? Who's going out? Who's going to go get...
I bet you look back on that now, though, given that you've obviously, your drug dealing got into a, higher level standard, and you look back on that and you think, what absolute mugs we were. Just like, who's going to get out of the car? Who's going to do it?
Yeah. So anyway, we pick up the goods. And we're like, be rude not to, innit? Like,
so you've got to try
you've got
it.
to test them out.
Yeah.
So be rude not to.
Naturally.
And then we're in these pubs in Brighton, just off our tits.
On pingers.
Trying to play pool, like.
Yeah, not the scene for the pingers. Not the scene.
So yeah, when we take them back home anyway, and
driving as well, I presume.
Obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we take them back home and, start dishing them out. And we've got most of the pub just like,
gurning.
like big eyes and I love you, man. Yeah. I've still got some pictures of us actually just laying on the floor like, thinking this is just normal. Look back and think, you absolutely...
Also, we are meant to be selling these. You're just there like,
yeah. So just some of those silly things that
any issues yet
into.
though with running the pubs and any like police situations or no
fights, but no police. No. So we leave that to start a normal life. He goes and gets a normal job. I'm pregnant and then at home with the baby, and then I get a wind of I've just got a little bit. Just a half bag. I'm like, half ounce. And I'm like, okay.
To sell?
Yeah. That's like, okay. And then that materialised into something a lot bigger.
You two with the Bonnie and Clyde of...
Do you know what? It's embarrassing. I used to walk round and I head to toe in Versace.
Oh my God.
And with a fur coat.
Pimping. Oh no,
Real
what?
fur.
Okay, of
Please
course,
don't
yeah.
hate me.
Yeah.
But I was a different person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were playing that role very well. So very
It's
hard.
Just funny.
Yeah, to think about that.
Cringe.
It's like when you go through that phase of just thinking drugs are really cool to take, and like you make it very obvious.
I would
that you're
only
taking
drink Veuve Clicquot champagne.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 3 bottles.
Yeah.
And then, you know.
You're like the mob wife.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're living up to that.
This is really raw and honest, right?
Yeah, okay.
Okay. And I loved it.
Yeah. I bet you did.
I felt.
Are you joking?
Powerful.
I used to watch stuff like sometimes on a sesh, and I used to watch like Gangs
Queen
of
of the
London
South.
or Queen of the South. I watched that stuff, and I'd be like, I fucking love to do that.
Yeah. Obviously it wasn't quite like that, but
no,
you know, a Diet Coke version of
Wish's version.
Yeah, basically Timu.
The Timu version of the female drug dealer. That's brilliant.
I can take the piss out of myself because honestly I hold no airs and graces about it, because it was a part of my life I said goodbye to many years ago, and I just think it's quite laughable now, because I thought I was the dog's bollocks, you know, walking around in this fur coat and you
dropping
know.
off bags. Did you? It's quite hard though, right? Because you've gone from owning pubs and like probably making quite good money and selling it on the side just little bits, but also you're now trying to get. It's very difficult. I have friends who have gone from drug dealing to normal life, and it's really hard. To a degree, it's hard in the sense that you have to get used to the money and the.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
£15 an hour? You mad?
Yeah. Also, your freedom, like you've got to be confined to a normal job hours, whereas you're used to just being able to, you know, run your own show.
And you know, he did most of it, but like, you know, I was a big part of it, because I used to move money. We had weapons in the house. We had lots of gear. Stupidly now, like you wouldn't.
No.
Now, if I was going to do it all again, I would definitely do things a lot differently. Yeah. Because I have a bit more of my head screwed on. Yeah. Yeah. And I would build an empire. I wouldn't just squander it.
She's like, I've learned the first time round. I'm going to come back bigger and better.
But I'm building an empire in a different way.
You are. Okay, but let's just go back to that empire a minute. So he said he rings you up and he says,
though.
Yeah.
You know.
Because I want to because I know we have a laugh, but obviously. That was like a dangerous, obviously, time to be living your life like that.
One person then who we owed a bit of money to, we'd just taken a bit longer to get it. I come home and he was walking down the street, and I'm like, oh my God! So I invited him for a cup of tea.
Sit down.
Yeah. Just a peacemaker.
Have a line.
No, it's fine. But that said person actually went to prison for murder. So you know that's the sort of calibre of people that. I didn't think about it at the time. No. Obviously, I was scared. I'm not saying like, you know, weren't scared or whatever. But there was situations where I thought, oh my God, what's going on?
I think when you're living, I mean, I know I haven't done that, but I think when you're, it's the same as going to meet drug dealers, for example. You know how normal you make that to yourself, and you know it's like the first time you did that compared to the last time you did it. It's like the first time you're absolutely fucking terrified to go and pick up for the first time.
I would go on my own in a car with a big shed load of money to meet someone from the other side of it. For a lot of time with foreign, and do the swap.
Yeah. On your own.
Yeah. They could have easily took, you know, I don't know. It's just those what ifs, isn't it? Like, and that was the hardest bit to get out of, is when I broke up from him and stuff, I would then be like, oh, I need a bit of money. I'm going to go do a job, do a few jobs this week.
So he literally calls you and says, I've got half an ounce. Let's get back into doing it.
No, he did not tell me. I found out from other sources.
Okay. Because I'm thinking how does he really leave that pub lifestyle and just go straight into getting a normal job and being a grown up?
It lasted about 4 months.
Right. Okay. So.
Yeah.
And then you find out, and then you start working together.
Yeah, my involvement, I suppose it was not really, it was more of the back end of things. It wasn't really like a massive involvement in it, but I did jobs here and there, and I did know about it all.
Yeah.
And I would be involved in it, but not for the day-to-day sort of running of it. I would do my thing.
And did you sort of stop drinking and taking drugs through your pregnancy?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
I did, 100%. Like, yeah. I did. That was probably the most sensible. That period.
You hear it a lot, actually.
Was the most sensible I'd been. And my first daughter really did get the best of me because I did then, when we got babysit or whatever, I would go out and be like, well, I'm free or something.
Yeah.
But I would be, you know, attentive mum, and I would be sitting down with her and in the day and reading and doing this and taking her to groups and socialising and things like that. So, and she went to private school funded by, you know, this and that. And when it got out of control, where he got, I think, too caught up in it to the point where he had a lot of people around him that were not his friends. And I challenged that, and I said, for protection, you know, well, you're letting these fake people, they're using you for your money and your drugs. Like, let go of them. They're just hangers on. They're just hangers on.
If you didn't have the money and the drugs, would they be sat here calling you up? That was the thing one of my friends struggled with the most, drug dealing for 10 years. And that was the thing he struggled with the most, was like, he's in recovery now, but he's just said, like, I honestly thought in those times that those were my mates. And until when I stopped, my phone wasn't ringing.
I thought I'd be with that man forever. Like, at the time, we were that couple who I imagined us growing old together. And it got out of hand to the point where he wasn't coming home. I wanted to chill out, or you know, I didn't like it anymore. It was he was lying to me. He would stay out for days on end.
All these classic signs, isn't it, of like, and I'm guessing he was using as well. Yeah. Oh, was this coke now?
Yeah, this is, we would do cocaine. We dealt cocaine, pills, and weed. Yeah. So, and I had enough, and I kept giving him ultimatums, and one day he was in the pub and he weren't coming home. In my erratic self, in my pajamas, I ran to the pub and I punched him full in the face off his stool and I said, "Love the pub so much. There's your bag of clothes. Fuck you. Don't come home. I'm done.
You're done.
And when I'm done, I'm done." And I was done. And that was it. And I absolutely fell apart after that. Mentally, emotionally, I fell apart because
your fantasy's been kind of ruined here, hasn't it? It's been ripped
absolutely.
away from you. Like, you're not going to have the family unit for your daughter.
That's when I went off the rails.
Right.
And, I had my second daughter, and we tried to sort of get back together and things like that, but it just didn't work. And after that, I just was drinking, using, mostly drinking. And I just went off the rails because, again, I didn't know how to deal with those big emotions. And I'd sort of briefly seen this other guy who is really abusive. So that was, I wouldn't say it was my first experience of domestic abuse, but it was quite serious, you know, where I had to have the police involved and had to have the locks changed and everything. And I remember I was pregnant with her and I was pushing my little one around in the buggy, and I was just walking the streets. Like, every person I rang was busy with their own lives, and I was just on my own and just walking about. That made me cry.
Because you didn't have anyone to depend on.
No.
And
I just had to deal with that,
but had that
by myself.
Had that come from the life you'd chosen to live? Like, were there repercussions of you kind of going into that life with your family?
There was distrust, and there was, oh, not again, sort of thing. There was, you know, what's happened now? My mum you know, she'd had a lot to deal with, and she was sort of out living her life. She'd sort of met somebody and was having her time a bit. So when, you know, I'm trying to ring people, and I didn't really tell people, I just was like, oh, can I come and see you, sort of thing. And it was just sort of tiptoeing around it. I didn't say I need someone, because I didn't know how to say that.
No.
But in the end, you know, her and the guy she was seeing at the time, they did help me get out. And what I did, so they could witness it, is I went in the house and left the door on the latch, and then they witnessed him shut me in the bathroom and gripped me up and things. So, and then he was
have you found
a police
like
officer, so
he was a police officer?
Yeah, so he could then like.
Sorry, not the guy who was abusing you.
No, my mum.
Yeah. Have you found with stuff like this, right? You know how we've always been told that we're too much and we're too this, that when then big things happen in your life,
I don't want to tell them.
because you don't think people are good, because you think that people are, or the people closest to you are going to think it's either their own fault or they're being over dramatic.
Yes, yeah, being dramatic.
That's something that
which is why I think I kept a lot of stuff in.
Yeah.
And a very conversation I had with one of my friends who we're still friends now. I've been friends since about 14. And one day I had the two little ones in the car, and she was going to look at a cat or something, I don't know. Anyway, the parenting was tough, and I just, like that, and I cried in the car, and she went, I've never seen you cry. And I was like, I don't fucking cry.
Yeah, I get angry.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh. Yeah. And I remember thinking, so I don't cry.
So it's all pent up
all
in there.
internal. This internal then hyperactivity. This all of this stuff in my brain. And sometimes then when the kids are in bed, I just would drink just to shut it out. And I ended up sorting myself out anyway. And I moved house. And I got a really good job. So I got a job in sales. I was selling new homes, and I did really well at it.
Yeah.
So then again on the outside, I had this, I was, you know, pretty good looking. I had a big house, I had a nice car, I had a really good job.
You're a single mum, you're doing it all on your own.
Yeah, I've got two beautiful
Hyper-independent
girls,
again.
like, you know, one's at private school. Actually, I think she was at a different school then. But anyway, and, you know, so I do that, and childminder, and then I'm going to work suited and booted.
And again, do you feel like you're stepping into a new role now? This like another
This
new
was
role?
This was a new version
chapter
of me, a new chapter again, yeah. And I'd left all that behind me, and but then the pressures of being a single mum and working like that, and the loneliness. So I'd come in from work, the kids have sort of been fed at the childminder, I'd bath them, spend a bit of time with them, they're asleep, and I'm crack open the wine.
Yeah.
You know, and I drink 2 to 3 bottles of wine every night.
You deserve that, because you have come from that, and you're now this, and you're supporting your family, and you know it's very easy to be
using.
That's the
but
other
then
thing.
occasionally I would sort of a couple of times a month or something like that.
Bit of a
the
binge.
alcohol was the hidden thing.
Yeah.
But I had to move again, and moved into like this house near the town, to be nearer schools, to be nearer my work, to be nearer the childminder. But I was near town, and it was easy for people to get to my house. And my mental health was not good. The cracks started to really appear then at this time. And I say, you know, the song Little by Little, right? The wheels of your life will slowly falling off.
100%.
Right? That's one of my favourite songs. And the wheels of my life started to fall off gradually. I was taking more risks. I was also then working in promotions. So I was doing hostessing, dancing, partying a lot. So the using came back in a little bit more. And he'd met somebody else, and I think he'd met ages ago, but I think then they were doing all the things that I wanted to do as a family, and he'd started doing those things. He was cooking Sunday lunch, and it sent me over the edge. And I really didn't cope with it very well, and those big emotions started to come to the surface, and I did get, I had to go to the hospital, and because I was drinking and using, and I ended up beating up a nurse. I'd been in trouble quite a few times for things. I'd drunk drove, and I'd got banned and things like that, and it was all of this doing well, fall off, doing well, fall off. It was like this zigzag, perpetual cycle of being all right and then falling apart.
Exhausting, and actually when you look back on it, it's not you doing all right.
And I nearly went to prison.
Yeah.
Because of my previous and things like that.
Because of what, sorry?
My previous convictions and things like that. So you'd had a few red mist, and I go too far with things, and so I got arrested. I then had to go to court.
This is for the nurse. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel shame about that, actually, and it is what it is, but served my time. And
how did that come about? Because she
wouldn't let me go.
Right, okay.
And then she touched me.
Yeah.
So as soon as someone touches me, and I'm in the mist.
This is on the back of leaving a domestic violent relationship, bearing in mind. So let's just keep that under consideration.
Yeah. I'm not going to go into what I did, but anyway,
Fine.
So I had to go to court.
Yeah.
And my solicitor, it got dropped from GBH to assault.
Yeah.
So I didn't go to prison. Thank you. And I got 12 months suspended sentence with 12 months probation. So I had to go to probation every week.
In that time, are you going through that injustice thing of because I'm thinking about if I was me in that situation, right? And I'm thinking to myself, but that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't been being abused before.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's so.
Yeah.
And then you're just angry. You're an angry person.
I didn't understand.
Because you don't know how to handle your emotions, but that one seems to come out no matter what.
Yeah. And I walked out of there. I walked out, and I didn't understand why I was being arrested. I was like, oh, nah, sorry, not now. I'm going home.
Yeah. That, right, is exactly the same as what you were like as that little girl, leaving school that day, cartwheeling around.
Yeah, you touched me.
Yeah.
Don't touch me.
But that's the same as what you were like then. You didn't understand why am I going to... What? I don't go anywhere.
I did say to the police officers, I go, no, I just want to go home to bed. Can we deal with this tomorrow?
He's like, sorry, I don't think you understand what's going
on. But then I had to go through police brutality and things like that. Fucking horrible. They beat me up in the back of the wagon.
No.
Slam my head off.
Does that happen?
Yeah. Happens all the time. Yeah,
especially because it's a nurse.
Yeah.
It's like when people go in to do time and they've
two grown men. Yeah, battered my head off the side of the cage. So I was put in a cage.
You also can't say anything either because they're not going to believe you, are they?
No. They don't. They're horrible bastards. Yeah. I have no respect for authority like that at all.
Is that because
you've had nice police officers? But
yeah. Is that because you've obviously had bad experiences?
Well, yes, that's been my experience. So why am I going to believe anything else?
Yeah.
Because that's been my experience. But later down the line, I have had better experiences. But and I went back home. I left that job as well, and I everything just went tits up. I tried to hang myself. And then the girls went to live with their dad for a while and their stepmum. And that it just ended up, it was probably the worst time in my entire life. Yeah, when that was 2008. Yeah, horrible. Summer 2008, I remember it. And then the house was just empty. So what did I do? It just fueled my drinking and using. And I didn't care then. I didn't give a fuck.
Because you'd lost, because the girls had gone to theirs. Yeah, I mean that.
Yeah, I mean that was an agreement because I couldn't look. I needed to get better, but I didn't. I got worse.
Your version of getting better was to crack on.
Yeah.
With drinking drugs.
And it got and I had psychosis and I woke up on the floor in my own sick and things like that. Yeah.
So you're just this is what happens when we are addicts and we are now left to our own devices. And I would say the worst part of my addiction was when I gave up trying. It was like, I'm a fucking addict.
Yeah.
Do you know what? This is
done.
who I am.
I'm done now.
This is who I am. So fuck it, let's get another one. Let's have another bit.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're not even. You just like that's me.
And I just sit there in the dark. Yeah, just days after days, really. I didn't pay my rent, so I lost the house. I had to go and live with my mum at 29 years old, and all my stuff was in storage. She didn't want me around for much, so I was homeless. I was homeless.
She didn't want you around because you were still using.
Yeah, and I was just taking the piss. So I'd bring people home and, you know, just,
And are you dealing still?
No. I left that a long time ago. But yeah,
I was just thinking how you were making money whilst using.
People.
Right.
I knew I used to hang around with people that were doing that. I never really paid for my own drugs, to be honest. I paid in different ways.
Yeah. Well, I was going to get onto that. If you don't, Yeah,
but like not kind of an agreement, just
it just happened. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How did that make you feel?
Well, I didn't see it like that, did I? So
no. I think
I just like, I'm getting what I want. Well, I had this discussion around a table. We were all drinking and using, you know, a little sesh, and it's like 4 a.m. or whatever, and they're all men apart from me, and they're talking about, well, like co-calls or whatever, and I said, well, you got to think of it from this way, right? We come out with the intention of not spending a penny.
Yeah.
We come out, we chat you up, we get you to buy us all our drinks, all our gear. We come home to your house. Once we're done, we go home. You pay for our taxi. Who's the mug?
Literally.
And they were just like,
yeah.
But, you know, it's not funny.
I never had that because I did always put, because I never wanted to feel in that situation. But that, I think that's because I was so fucking insecure. I never had the sex thing on my roster. That wasn't on my thing because, and I don't doubt for 1 second if I had confidence in that area that I would be been exactly the same.
Sex was another addiction. Like, sex was...
It's well, in all my groups, it's a massive thing.
Yeah. But for me, the thrill of that, so I was a danger seeker. I got off on danger, power. Yeah,
it's common. I mean, like, I just think if I was a more confident person, that would have been me, but it's just not part of my story.
Look at it now, Hannah, as if I could be whoever I wanted to be, and I did not like myself.
You didn't even know yourself though, right? Back then.
I did. I had different versions of me. Like, I've written about them before, and it's like, you know, this one was called Jezebel. And so I could step into her energy and be this confident, very dark, feminine, sexual person, and just be a different character. And I think that's it was
that's fascinating.
Almost like, it is fascinating when you start picking apart your behaviours and what you've been through.
Yeah, whereas I was
that's
one
so far
dimension.
removed from who I am now.
Yeah.
It's so far removed, and it's weird talking about it like that. And I go, and it's almost like, oh God, cringy, because it's like, I just feel sorry for myself.
Yeah.
I really feel sorry for myself. It's like, you poor woman, little girl, who thought that it was normal to be just let people have sex with you, and that when you didn't want to, and just destroy your body and cut yourself, like you're like beating yourself up so much all the time.
That when you don't even know about it, it's like when you start learning about inner child work, it is like, I remember first going into therapy, and like this when I was still in active addiction, and laughing at the thought of inner child work. I was like, it's all in my past, don't need to worry about that.
It's really relevant.
So relevant. It's really important.
But it's really difficult work to do.
It is.
So it is challenging.
I really want to get onto your work. So this all starts falling apart at the seams.
Yeah.
We've had you've tried to take your own life.
Yes, for the second time.
Right. And your daughters have now gone to live with your ex.
Yeah, I'm homeless.
You're homeless.
I'm sofa surfing. I'm
drugs and music.
smoking white in derelict buildings.
So we're back to crack now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now because
the wheels are off.
If I'd been left alone with a massive pile of cocaine, I would either wash some up myself and smoke it, or I ate it once because I couldn't fit anything else up my nose.
I've actually done that myself.
Yeah, so I just got a massive handful and ate it.
Yeah.
And I had my face punched in.
Right.
So I've got now, I had plastic surgery on my face, but I got 25 stitches up and over, and this tooth come out.
What was that situation?
A man, I was sitting around with my friend who was also into that sort of stuff and dealing and things. And we made ourselves some dinner. We had a nice bit of wine, and then we got on the lines, and a few of his friends come back, and he was smashed, and he kept just saying stuff to me, and I was like, "You're going to tell your friend to shut the fuck up, or what?" And then when I stood up, when I sat down, he put his hand on my bum and all this stuff, and it was like, so it came about.
It's your anger thing, isn't it? It's like because you're hypersensitive, so like you notice like a lot of people, right, when they're on the session, they're fucked up. They're not going to notice these little like hand under the bum, but you just notice it all.
And I thought it was disrespectful. Like, you don't know me. Yeah. And then he kept asking me to suck his dick, and I was just like, nah. Yeah. And I was like, in the end, I was like, get out then.
Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I then totally emasculated him in front of his friends, and he then saw red. Yeah. And I got up to do my line, and he whispered something in my ear, and I just went like that. And give him a fat lip, and then I just saw this massive fist coming towards my face. I was like, oh. Yeah. I flew back. Luckily, I went onto the chair because otherwise I'd gone through the patio doors. And then literally like claret everywhere, and I then saw red and picked up a chair and ran at him, like you do, and they went, nah, run. So I was like, then all of that went, oh shit, what's happening here? And then I really felt he was going to kill me. Yeah. I feared for my life really badly. I had to run, like with none of my stuff, and I had to run to a safe house, and then had to lie to hospital and police about how it happened. Then I had to go to get all my face repaired.
Did anything happen to him? No.
I wouldn't say nothing.
You weren't going to say anything? No way.
Yeah. Nah.
Was he a dealer?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Very violent people.
Right,
yeah. Obviously.
Okay, with
you.
Yeah.
So no, I'm not.
There's a random person at the sesh. I was like,
No.
Right,
I'm
with you.
No, I couldn't say anything.
No.
I have misplaced loyalty,
right,
as well, because I would never grass on someone.
No.
Nah.
It's like the number one rule in that kind of job.
Yeah, I would never do that. So the implications, if I said something about that, then the implications on the other, the ripple effect of that wouldn't be in my best interest.
And are you thinking about, at this point, that you have a problem? Like, are you aware?
Yeah.
Right.
My dad dropped me off to AA when I was 23.
Okay. And you weren't interested?
Nah.
Yeah.
I just walked in the door, walked out, and pretended I went. And didn't. Yeah. But I tried to get different help, and I didn't find it helpful. Yeah. But the pinnacle, let's just wrap it up to the backstory, is like I was homeless. I got pregnant. I was
number 3.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my third daughter. Yeah. And I was like, oh shit, this isn't about me anymore. This is about another human person in my body. So I got put in temporary housing. And I had her there, and then I got housed. And I started a new life, but I still carried all of this stuff with me. So then I was there for a bit. There was still turmoil, and I got into a different relationship, had my son. And then in 2015, all in the same year, I decided that this relationship wasn't for me. I ended my relationship, cancelled my wedding. I all of this emotion started coming to the surface, and I tried to take my life in 2015, November. So 10 years this year. November will be my 10 years rebirth anniversary.
Amazing.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, same. Well, yeah.
Yeah, like a rebirth.
Yeah.
So I was sectioned, taken to hospital, to a secure unit, because I tried to finish myself off at the hospital. So they said, like, I'm a danger to myself. So I got sectioned involuntary, put into a secure unit, and I didn't want to wash. I didn't want to be alive. I'd had enough, Hannah, of the trying to sort myself out, and I just felt like my whole life was a battle, and I'd lost the fight. So I was in this secure unit, and I got my friends to drop off some stuff, and one of them was my big book of AA. So I had my big book, and I still didn't want to wash, and I went to get my food one day. This was 3 days in, and I'm like, I was grumpy. I was like, just face like a slapped arse. I was on fucking beer. So then I got hungry by that time anyway, so I went to get something to eat. Come back to my room. Bear in mind, the room, no windows, no open windows or anything like that. Everything's plastic. On top of my big book was a white feather in the middle of my big book. And I get goosebumps every time I tell a story, right? And I walked in and I saw it, and I just froze, and I dropped to my knees, and something jolted in my body, and it was like a broke open, and I sobbed, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried, and I cried like I've never cried before. I just was crying, and I had this visualization of me in a coffin, you know, like those American weddings, funerals, where everyone's all in black and it gets lowered in like that, and it was my kids standing round, and bear in mind I'm having this really out of body experience, and it gets lowered into the ground, and I was like, I looked in the mirror and I'm like, who am I? I don't know who I am. And I made a promise in the mirror that I'm going to sort my life out, and I wouldn't give up anymore. And that's what I did. I came out a while later, and I tried my hardest to get help. I went into recovery. I did my 12 steps. I went to therapy. I tried to unpick all of this previous stuff, and I started my business, all in the same year,
of course,
all within 12 months. So I alongside this stuff, you know, all this madness, I was actually a trained holistic therapist, and I'd always had a fascination with the human mind, body, and behaviour. And I go, do you know what? I've got a massage table. I got it out. Said, who wants a massage? Who wants some Reiki treatment?
Oh, I love Reiki.
So I'd already was done Reiki 1, 2, and 2014 I did my master's teacher. So all alongside this chaos, I'm this very capable woman who had businesses, who have worked really good jobs. But when we sort of had a few voice notes, I said it's like I had a double life. Yeah. So I do yoga in the morning and have a green smoothie, but at night, when no one could see me, I'd be drinking and using. And I hid it for so long until I couldn't hide it anymore. Yeah. It's not sustainable. You're functioning until you're not functioning. Yeah. And it's however long you are in your drinking and using, it's not sustainable. No. Your body's going to start to give up. I shat myself on a regular basis. My guts were in pieces. My body was in pieces. And I had to repair not only my emotional self, but I had to repair my physical self, you know, and that has been a long old journey 10 years this year. And have I been clean and sober that whole time? No, I'm not going to lie. No, I'm not going to lie about it, because
but
I haven't.
I want to talk about that, because recovery, and sobriety, again, these labels. Sober, in my opinion, is when you come out of the womb. That is your natural born state. That's sober. Yeah. Now, if you want to really, really get nitty gritty with it, right? Paracetamol, you're not sober. So, like, for people, you know, we've got to stop kind of pigeonholing sobriety, recovery, mental health, or anything really, because we're both in agreement that recovery, and I do like that word, recovery is the self-discovery journey, and that is not linear.
Recovery to me isn't sobriety.
No,
it's
not necessarily.
Sobriety has been a big part of it, the exploring of that. But recovery to me is a whole lot more. For me, it's been financial recovery. So I racked up £30,000 of debt that I've now paid off. It was recovering from domestic abuse. It was recovering from trauma, and still recovering from some of that to some extent. It was actually being able to understand my brain and my body and my emotions, and it was communication. It was understanding my role in relationships. It was understanding what an actual relationship looks like. And I'm now in a healthy relationship, coming up to like a year, and that's the only relationship that I've had that I think is a healthy relationship.
And I guess that takes a lot of unlearning.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
It wasn't exactly I had to go and learn a load of stuff. I had to unlearn a load of stuff, Hannah. And I think you would agree, and like lots of people.
I haven't done ever see anything since being in recovery, and that I know comes from fear. Like I haven't even gone near nothing.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. For 10 months.
But I think that's wise.
So obviously, yeah. I mean, my sponsor said when I first met her, she was like, "You got to do a year," and I was like, "No." And it's just happened because my journey has taken that path, you know, and actually. I was
single for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, this is the thing. Like, I am only. You'll feel the same. I'm only just meeting myself. Hello. I'm 31 in 10 days. Like, I'm just meeting who I am. You know, like I don't want to share that with anyone yet.
No, it's the self-discovery, and I always encourage people to treat it as a fun thing.
Yeah.
Not just I've got to do this. Like treat it's curiosity with an open curiosity of what's next.
Yeah, and like I think you have to get so bored. Do you know what I mean? Like people always say to me sometimes, they're like, "Oh, I know I've got a problem, but it's still really fun." That's probably going to be very hard to give that up then.
Yes, that's what I came up against in early recovery. Yeah. Because I enjoyed the escapism still. I just have new ways to escape. I like breathwork. It's like my saviour.
Love breathwork.
Yeah. It's amazing.
When you got sectioned, would you say that was a good place for you to be? Like,
it was interesting.
Yeah. I hear different reviews, so I'm always interested.
It was interesting to the fact that one of the ladies in there had a crack pipe hidden behind the sofa. Yeah. I didn't touch it.
That's good.
Yeah. I didn't touch anything in there at all. I ate loads. I got chased around with medication. All my stitches started getting infected, so the duty of care is not great.
But it took you out of...
It took me out of... I joke sometimes and say I might just go mad for a bit to get a break.
Go back in.
Yeah. Volunteering.
Yeah.
All my meals cooked every day.
Yeah.
And, you know,
no mumming for a bit.
Yeah. Mine are all older now, like, so I've basically 2 adults. Mine are adults, and they're amazing, beautiful young women. Yeah. I don't know how we've done that, but we did, you know, because they've got 2 very strong parents as characters, and you know, and that have brought them up in a way that we gave them the best things in life, and been very real and raw. So they've seen me rise from the absolute gutter, and they do say, when they hear me talking and stuff on podcasts or on radio and whatever, they're like, "So proud of you, mummy." Yeah. Yeah.
That's nice to hear, you know.
Yeah, they were too little to really talk to them about it, and I think some of the conversations that we have now have been really healing for us for us, for me and them, and it's helped me forgive myself. Forgiveness is a huge part of recovery. Self-forgiveness.
So a lot of people, and I know this is a big passion of yours, a lot of people ask me about shame. Okay, so how do you move past the shameful things you've done in active addiction?
Okay, that's tricky.
Yeah.
Because it's hurt people that I love very dearly. And that's really hard to hear, but you've got to hear it.
Yeah.
You've got to allow them to speak that without trying to interrupt them or
Defend yourself.
to try and defend yourself. Yeah. And my communication and response to that is, I'm really sorry that I put you through that. I'm hearing you, and I'm here for you now in a different version of me.
I think that honesty is like a lot of the stuff that revolves around addiction is us hiding, like, you know, whether that's hiding our using or hiding who we really are. Spoken word, like you, I know there's something that you are amazing at, but saying things out loud to yourself to begin with, like we were saying at the start of this conversation off camera about spirituality and how now yours is very personal to yourself, same as me, but it's not because I'm ashamed of it, it's just like, it's so nice. Like, I would never in active addiction, if you'd said to me, you in a year's time nearly is going to be sitting at the end of your bed every night religiously saying about your day, how you could have maybe done it a bit better, giving gratitude and doing prayer.
So your inventory.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a problem with the inventory.
But I don't do it how AA suggests.
Nah,
and
because
this is
it's a bit self-damaging.
Yeah.
It does give, especially if you've already racked with guilt and shame, then it's almost like you're giving yourself a little bit more to beat yourself up about.
It's contradictory, really, that program sometimes, because it's like you have to, find the things that you've done wrong, but at the same time, you're supposed to be moving forward with your life.
Yeah. And you've got to get a little bit selfish.
Very.
Acts of service are one of my core values.
Same.
So acts of service, connection, communication are 3, and honesty. Believe it or not.
Yeah.
But I was going against all of my core values. But once you can get honest with yourself, that's the hard bit. I got fed up with my own bullshit.
Yeah.
I just got so sick and tired of myself.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is not going to be my story anymore. And I took it upon myself. And I am a very resilient and capable person like that. You know, I'm crying on the floor in bits, but I will get back up and I will make something out of my pain, and that's what I've done. I've turned all my pain and my trauma and used it to actually help other people. And I started my business in holistic therapies in 2016, I think it was. And I started from a lounge, and then it was the person that I ended the engagement, and he had left his shed. So I turned the shed into a treatment room.
Classic neurodivergent, just classic.
So I just
had an idea, saw the shed go.
Yeah, and I called it the healing shed at the time.
That.
The healing shed, and that's exactly what it was. It became but what I did was, almost instead of dealing with my own stuff, I started dealing with everybody else's. So I hid behind that a little bit. I hid behind my spirituality in a way of spiritual bypassing. Oh yeah, positive. Just think positive. Just think positive. And it bypasses the actual real raw emotions. And it wasn't until a bit later down the line when I was studying trauma, I was like, oh.
Okay, tell me.
Yes.
Try and tell me everything you know about trauma.
Oh, okay. So trauma, there's different types of trauma.
Yeah.
So if you think of trauma that happens to you in childhood, it's called adverse childhood trauma. You've got the ACEs, so you can go through the tick list of those. Like neglect. Say you're expressing some emotion and you get told, shut up, I'll give you something to cry about in a minute. That's almost like then that's going to be damaging as well, because what you're teaching that child is to that expressing themselves isn't safe. So that what do? Internalize that. So there's lots of different types of trauma. Intergenerational trauma is really interesting.
That's my favourite one.
Yeah, that's mine too. And so if you look at, and then you've got ancestral trauma, which I also love to.
What's that? Oh, that's
So
further
that's
down, even
that's
further
your
down the line.
spiritual
Yeah.
bloodline. So your family tree, your bloodline, is the intergenerational trauma. So say you've a grandparent in your family tree has been through the Holocaust,
Yes.
or through war.
Yes.
Some of that
Has been transcended down to you.
passed down into us.
I know. I find it so
it's called epigenetics, right?
Yeah.
Bruce Lipton, The Biology of Belief, talks all about epigenetics. I'm a science geek. I love it. Like anything to do with science and stuff that I can learn, I will learn. Or if there's been a history of addiction, that can also get passed down in your family tree. And so my granddad was a very heavy drinker, but my parents had not particularly had problems with drugs and alcohol, but I did. So it can sort of skip things, and it can come from further down the line, but it manifests in lots of different ways.
And the other thing is like, if your parents, which a lot of our parents, and then below them in terms of their parents, right? We are sitting today talking on a podcast about real, raw, and like honest stuff. For even our parents or their parents, that is like an alien concept.
I wouldn't even talk about periods.
No.
Menopause.
No.
You know,
I mean,
I'm getting to the age where I'm entering into perimenopausal territory now.
And you've got to go and learn that all by yourself, because your mum's not going to tell you, but wouldn't have told you about it. You know, like, I just think it's a privilege that we get to sit and have these conversations. But from that, I think people need to know that no matter what age you are listening to this, your parent will have done something. Not that they're a bad person, but they have, you know, they've done the best they could with the tools they had. They don't have, you know...
Unless they were actually abusive and they knew about it.
Well, yes.
Then that's different. Then
100%.
you can cut off your parent, and you can have resentment towards your parent. I don't believe in the fluffy love and light spirituality of we must forgive everybody. I don't forgive the actions of the people that really hurt me. But I forgive myself for putting myself into that situation, and I detach myself from it. It doesn't mean I have to forgive them. I don't believe in that, I'm afraid. No. But I believe in saying, okay, I'm moving on. Moving on from it and discharging it from my body where I've held those feelings. So I'm what's called a somatic therapist.
Yes.
So
tell us about
somatics seems to be the buzzword though, right, around at the moment. But
what is a somatic therapist? Just for people.
Okay, right. So somatic, soma, is the word for body. So it's body first practices. So yoga is a somatic practice. So breathwork is a somatic practice. Dancing, ecstatic dance is a somatic practice. And then like tapping is somatic. So anything that involves the body first practices. So you've got what's called somatic experiencing as well. So we sometimes we think that our thoughts come first, but it's actually the body responses that come first, which create the thoughts, which then creates the response. So you're say we're talking about addiction, because that's what this is mainly about, right? So that's going to be happening in your body before you have the obsession, the thought, which turns into an obsession, which turns into the action of the using or going to get the thing. That's going to be already started in your body before you even get to that point. So it's about coming back into your body. And somatic experiences it isn't just talking, it's not talking therapy. I do a little bit of that, so it's called NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and I combine that with the body work. So we rewire the subconscious mind, and then we start to heal the nervous system and the body. So if you think, where are you holding your pain in your body? Where do you get it most when you feel stressed? So say mine's my left shoulder.
Left shoulder.
Mother wound.
Exactly. Is
a lot inner child stuff. Behind the shoulder blades, a lot of inner child stuff. So
That's really interesting.
I combine energetic body work which is just phenomenal. And then I'm a qualified breathwork teacher, trainer. I train people to embody breathwork and bodywork as well. So I'll talk you through how I sort of do that.
Okay.
So you would come to me.
Yeah.
We would have a consultation.
Yeah.
We'd have a chat about trauma, about any illnesses that you have reoccurring, because the relationship between one of my speciality is the emotional root of physical pain and trauma. So let's go into the body. Physical pain and illness. Let's go into the body and find out where that is, and let's release that through bodywork, breathwork, energy practices, and sometimes I bring the sound into it as well.
Love sound healing.
And movement is a massive part of what I do. Whether that's I'm moving you whilst we're releasing. So I've got my hand on a point where I can feel your pain, and then we're moving through that, I can feel it buzzing sometimes when there's resistance, and then it moves, which sometimes then they'll jolt, and then they cry, or they'll
release,
scream.
Wow.
Yeah. It's saved my life.
Yeah.
That was when I really started to feel free, is when I learnt those practices. I started that 5 years ago?
Yeah.
5 years ago now.
And you stuck to it, so you
Oh my God, it's my obsession. Yeah, I'm obsessed with it. So I would talk to you, I would get a feeling of your energy. I'd be scanning your body and scanning your reactions and responses, the very subtle ones that people can't see. And I think this is one of the beauties of being neurodivergent as a therapist and as a coach, that I can see what you're not saying. So we would talk about where you're holding that in your body, and you might say my left shoulder, but I bet you've got yours in your hips and your lower back as well. I can see that from here, the buzzing of the energy. And so we would go underneath the scapula, and I would help to lift that up, move that, and then you'd probably be resisting it, because we'd create a safe space for you to let that go first. And that's when the breath work, the nervous system practices come in. So some people have a big release straight away. Some people are very guarded and very resistant to it. But we get there in the end. And it's about taking off your armour, so you can actually be okay with releasing that and allowing it to come through. So the beauty of these practices is that you don't have to make sense of it. You don't have to go through 20 years of counselling. You can have quite rapid results in a short space of time. Now, also what that can do is open up a whole can of worms. Pandora's box, especially all around here for women. We hold a lot here, hold a lot here, and it's like layers then of taking that armour off and allowing yourself to be vulnerable, and you get to then that core self. And I think for me, in my journey, I feel really empowered. I don't drink or use at all anymore. Completely. Well, I smoke fags. So you know, I'm not gonna lie.
No.
I have my little nicotine fix, once or twice a day, and that'll do for me. I don't drink alcohol whatsoever. Just has no place in my life. No. Not even a social drink. No. Zero place in my life anymore. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I have let go of the attachment to it, because even like a year or so ago, I would drive past a pub and feel, it's missing out. I'm not. I drive past now, I'm like, oh God, no.
Yeah, no. JOMO, the joy of missing out.
Yes, JOMO.
Love JOMO.
I love that. And I really do thank Conscious Connected Breathwork for that. And have you ever done one?
No.
Oh my days.
I love breathwork though.
Yes, it's amazing. So yeah, Conscious Connected Breathwork, because
I'm gonna come and see you.
Do it.
I'm gonna come and see you.
Come
we'll
on
do
my
it.
podcast.
Yeah, we'll do it.
Come and do it.
I'll do a practice with you. Yeah.
You do? Oh yeah. That's what I call it. I call it a session as well. But
what a brilliant place to end. Come and have a sesh.
You can get high from breathwork, right?
Yes.
Because it's quite a psychedelic experience. And part of my recovery was actually psilocybin. Now,
very interested in this topic.
magic mushrooms,
Yes.
doesn't it?
Yes.
It is called psilocybin, isn't it?
It is
I always say-
psilocybin, yeah.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
Psilocybin.
Psilocybin.
Yes, psilocybin.
Shrooms.
Yes. I never took them.
Right.
I'd never had them before. So I started hearing about microdosing. So I thought... I'm
For
gonna give it a go.
ADHD or for spirituality purposes?
No, for recovery and
For
spiritual...
recovery.
For ADHD.
ADHD, yeah.
So I thought, I'm going to try this. So I did.
Did you worry about your Did you worry about your
Yes.
addiction?
I thought
'cause
I was
that's-
being bad.
Yeah.
I thought I was being naughty, and I thought I was then... Because I think they're a Class A drug.
They are.
It's strange because I never had them.
See, I
So-
have, and I've done
Yeah.
chocolate, and
Yeah.
I've done the drops,
Okay.
but never in an
How do you
addictive
feel
way.
that? How do you feel about that then? in
Yeah, I feel
recovery?
that's why I'm asking you. Like, 'cause
Yeah.
I worry that I would feel bad about. Would feel bad, but at the same time, I've got this pulling urge to. I know that I feel like. Well,
they're so
you could also
so
say that I'm
medicinal.
not sober because I take ADHD pharmaceutical medication.
I was going to
So
say,
what's the difference here?
actually, some stuff that is illegal is actually medicine,
Yeah.
and some stuff that's legal is actually should be fucking
Completely
illegal.
agree.
So
Completely agree.
they weigh up the pharmaceutical industry and the drug dealing industry.
Exactly that.
You know, they are just drug dealers, but they're licensed by the government to do it.
Exactly that.
So that's how.
And
look
I
at
always
that
promised
sort of
myself a
thing.
year of complete abstinence. When I say abstinence, now
Yes.
people could argue that I'm not because I take
Yeah,
ADHD medication.
I did that. I did that, and I was abstinent from sex, abstinent from talking to anybody, and this is when I did the mushrooms.
Yeah. Okay.
And I met myself on a different level. So this was 2023. I had that. As I thought, I'm still acting. I've still got some of these behaviours.
In
I'm
that sense of like
avoiding-
you're trying to heal everyone else, but you're not.
Yeah, I'm hiding stuff, and I want to. I
Gotta
felt
get
I was
there.
still holding stuff. I was still holding on to stuff, and so I did a ceremony myself because of my experience I've already had in with trauma, and I knew kind of what I was doing. I just did it myself, and I had quite a big dose, and I just got really hot, and I was done it in my healing studio, a big 30 square metre studio, wellness studio that I just love. It's such a cool space. And I started getting really hot, and I was like, oh no, actually I don't want music on. And this sounds really weird, it's very personal, but I started like moving around. I felt like I wanted to be stretched out, and then I got this thing in my head, stop the oppression, and like I was going all primal on the floor and like moving around like this, and I wanted someone to literally just pull me apart, and I felt this huge expansion, and then I cried loads, and I wrote all this down, and it was like I feel like I've been oppressed for so many years, and that lifted it all for me, and it was almost like the medicine allowed me to access parts of myself that my ego or this barrier, my armor, was stopping me from accessing.
Yeah.
And it's like, again, like in the hospital, I sort of broke open a little bit more, and there was and I became a lot more free after that. And I went into the shower and I just wanted to scrub myself. I exfoliated really hard. Then I put on loads of cream. And then I just laid and meditated, and I felt clean. I felt cleansed. And I did it with my breathwork and that as well. And then the second time I did a big ceremonial dose was, I think it was last year.
See, this is what's interesting. It's not like because I don't think it's possible to get addicted to mushrooms, is it? No, that's what I mean.
They're not addictive.
No.
That's why they're used in rehabilitation.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why there's so many. Professor Nutt, if you follow
Yeah,
him,
I
love him.
I really want to get him on.
Oh, same.
Yeah.
I love him. Anyway, yeah, he's a bit of my hyper-focused person at the moment.
He's great.
So he talks a lot about it, and if you've seen the scale of drugs, of the substances,
Yes.
harm to self and others.
Yeah.
Alcohol's at the top.
Yeah.
Mushrooms at the bottom.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah, they're like this least harm. You might, it might be a little bit scary.
I
to
mean,
go
yeah,
on a
I think you
trip
have
a
to have an
little bit.
awareness of what a
I
trip
would recommend, if anybody wants to do it in a ceremonial setting with a trip sitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't just take it upon yourself if
go
you
and
have
go-
no
go and
knowledge
buy-
of self-awareness or trauma or anything
Yeah,
like
and
that.
don't just go and buy mushrooms from a dealer and
that's
take
silly. Do it
It's
in
got to be in
a
ceremony.
controlled environment.
Yeah, I agree.
And do it in, you know, you can go to other parts of the world where it is legal to do it. Is what I would suggest, to have that experience. And the second time that I did it, I let go of so much again, and I kept seeing babies, and I think, oh, is this like another rebirth? And I curled up in a little ball that time and sobbed again. And I felt really connected to my inner child. And yeah, it's not something that I do, you know, on a monthly basis. It's when I feel the calling. And at the moment, I'm not taking anything. I'm not taking any meds. I'm not taking any mushrooms, microdosing. I take supplements, like lion's mane. Functional mushrooms are amazing as well.
Chaga.
Chaga, reishi, lion's mane, are the 3 main ones that I take. Ashwaganda's really good as well.
Would you do ayahuasca?
No, I don't think I would.
No.
I don't feel the calling.
That's what I mean.
I do cacao ceremonies.
Yes, I want to do those.
So a lot of the stuff that I do is emotional based, spiritual based, breath work. So if you think, you know, and I hold space for women's circles as well.
That's nice.
And we, especially women who are recovering from addiction, from domestic abuse, and adverse trauma.
So you've done a real, you know,
It's been a journey, Hannah.
A journey, but look at you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot. And the work you're doing now, I just think...
I don't like the word relapse either.
No.
I really don't. I don't.
No, because it's part of your... A lot of people say it's part of the journey.
Yeah. So if I could say anything to anybody listening to this...
Yeah, go.
In recovery, early recovery, is... You're going to be all right. Get that support. If you can afford it, go to therapy.
Absolutely.
Someone who's trauma informed.
Yes.
100%.
I tried to say that to people.
Somatic trauma therapy.
Yeah.
Not just your bog standard counselling, no offence. It has its place and it's very valuable. But it's going to be a sticky plaster.
Yeah.
It's going to be a long old journey. It's going to be a sticky plaster solution. If you want to get serious about recovery.
Therapy should not be you talking at someone. That's it. Like, they should be asking you about feelings. Yeah.
Come on, how many times have you sat in
How
a
many?
chair
An
and you've
active
just
addiction.
yeah.
Oh my God. How was this weekend? Did you get on it?
Takes over
Yeah.
when talking.
No, I didn't.
But
And then you manipulate the therapist, and the next thing you know, you may as well be burning money.
Yeah. There's no hiding with somatics. There's no hiding from yourself. And like, I had a client yesterday, and she left, and she goes, "You're just incredible." In, you know, allowing her to access those parts of herself that she was too scared. The scared little girl in her was too scared to release. It's honestly, I can't, you know, don't just come to me. There are some amazing therapists out there doing this work, embodiment practices, movement practices, breathwork practices. So
And what is your business called?
Lunar Spirit Wellbeing is my company. Lunar Spirit Wellbeing Studio and Training Academy, and I've also just set up a CIC called CIC is a community interest company called Wellness on the Move CIC.
Yes.
So that is for people to access services because wellness is a privilege, and I don't want that to be. So it's for people that are in marginalised communities that cannot access paid therapy. So we'll be providing those spaces and that for people. So
that's amazing.
It's magic, yeah. So and we've got a big van, a mobile wellness van. And
you have to pinch yourself sometimes.
I've just secured, and I get the keys on the 1st of March for a new big place, a wellness hub that I can. Then I've got a place to provide for these people that they can come along in a safe space, and they can come along to a sports group. They can come along to a movement group or a breathwork group free of charge, and we get the grants and the funding for that so that I can offer that social connection, that space for them. I won't be doing like an addiction group, but maybe like for when they're out of the other side of that. So I don't deal with people in active addiction or active domestic abuse. I'm your next step.
Aftercare.
Yeah, I'm the next step. Yeah, because I don't have the
How amazing,
facilities to help with that. But I do signpost to refuge. Done a lot of work with raising money for refuge and things like that. And it's really, I'm going to be going into the other side of the law now. I've done work with Bedfordshire Police. So I've turned my life around completely from being on that side of, and criminality and that side of it, to actually now helping those people with their own trauma and being a standing person in the community and
respected.
And we don't
Giving
have to
back.
stay in the same story.
No.
You're the author of your book. Time to turn a new chapter and rewrite that shit. 100% believe that, and everyone's capable of doing that.
Thank you so much for being a classic. That was such a nice place to end.
Yeah,
that was so that I love that.
Thanks. That's my little TED talk. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, you don't have to live the same story.
Yeah.
I always think as well, if you're going through a bad patch, there's just a chapter. It's not the whole. Yeah. It's just a chapter.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you
can feel really alone, and you don't have to be, because places that
Thank you for being a Class A person.
Thank you.